today here with me, Renaldo Lawrence. And Renaldo is actually someone I followed on Instagram quite a while ago when I had first started looking for folks in EdTech. And then Renaldo, I saw you on LinkedIn Learning. And I
Right.
thought, hey, I follow this guy on Instagram. And I was just so impressed of your course and also just generally your presence on camera and the way you approach teaching those courses. And I thought it was just so serendipitous to see someone that I already followed on LinkedIn Learning. And Renaldo, I know that your career has just spanned so many different ways, playing for the Clippers, working then as a PE teacher, and then finding your passion for education and technology after working in IT. I just thought that was so incredible too. And then now you're not in the US anymore. You found your place in London and then have
Yeah,
done so much
yeah.
traveling around Europe. So yeah, I'd love to actually start with that. Why don't you talk to us about where you are, what you're up to these days?
Okay. It's phenomenal. Well, I started off from a small town called St. Matthews, South Carolina, which was like about, I think, 4,000 people. And the amazing thing is that I never thought I would ever end up where I'm at now. Um, and I was very fortunate that I was blessed enough with some skills to play basketball. So I got a scholarship, and I played for a guy, Glenn DeHart, first in junior college, and then Bobby Crimmins. And then I got drafted with the Clippers. And then when I got cut, I just didn't want to do that rat race thing. So I just left and went overseas. And then I met this woman and I got married. And I played here for years. And then I had a son, and my son actually played in the 2012 Olympics for Great Britain. And I have a daughter who's a social media manager. She does a bunch of social media stuff at Jesse Law. So she's at 40 plus thousand viewers, followers, so yeah, she does a lot of social media stuff. So I'm really fortunate. And the IT stuff, you know how crazy life is. This IT stuff started with, I was in an office one day and I was a PE teacher. And I was talking to this guy, and he had Microsoft Word up, and he had a program called Photo Draw, which you could actually create images in. And he had the two windows up, and he actually dragged an image from Photo Draw onto Microsoft Word. Blew my mind, just completely blew my mind. And after that, I was just like, well, how do you do that? And then he started showing me one or two things during the course of some break times. And then what happened is life has a funny way of doing things for you. So I had this friend's name was Ryan. And so Ryan said to me, because I mentioned to him about a computer, and Ryan said to me, well, I've got a friend who has a computer who's never opened it before. And he'll say, like, I think it was like 450 pounds, which is about $700. He said, he'll give it to you for like 100 pounds. I'm like, what? So I got it. And then what I did was, because I knew being a PE teacher, I knew I didn't want to do that all my life. So I just started going to the library, and I spent like the first year, I mean, literally. And that's when here the libraries were open Saturdays and Sundays. So I spent that year literally just being in the library. And what I did was I asked all the teachers in school if they could just give me a project or an assignment that they were working on, and I would turn it into a website. Now, I had no idea what I was talking about. I had none. But then I got all the stuff, but it was the only way I was going to learn if I had something that I had to do. And so I got all the stuff, I put it together, and finally stuff started to work. And it was just amazing. And that's how I got started. That's exactly how I got started. And it's been a nice ride. It's been a nice ride.
That's incredible. I love how that you found what you loved in such an interesting way. And I remember hearing you somewhere else say that you actually loved working in technology more than you love basketball, and how that was such a big moment for you.
Yes. What's really crazy about that is basketball is my life. I am the first person to go to university from my family, my immediate family. And I got an opportunity to see the world through basketball. I've been to probably every state in the United States, bar 4 or 5. And then I've got a chance to travel overseas, and I just never thought. And the IT thing, the technology, most of us are blessed that we find a career that we love and you live in that career. I've had two. So I love what I do now more than I love the basketball. And that is saying something because the basketball gave me a life. You know what I mean? So it's been phenomenal. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
And do you have a favorite team now that you're not playing
Oh,
for?
any place LeBron goes. Any place LeBron goes. That's my guy. And I tell you why he's my guy. He's my guy not so much for what he does on the court, but for what he does for humanity. He's my guy. And for what he does for all those kids who don't have a voice and all those kids who are suffering in terms of not having things that they want in their lives. And that's why he's my guy. And that's why I just feel that with what he's doing, he definitely makes the world a better place. And he's someone who's taken what was given to him and not kept it, but he's made the world a better place through the sharing, you know. So
Yeah, he leads a truly, truly meaningful life.
yes, he does. Yes, he does.
And can you tell me more about what you're up to these days in terms of the teachers that you're working with?
Okay, so some of the things that I do, so I do a lot of work with Adobe. I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator. I do some work with Google stuff. So we're a Google school. But one of the things I really wanted to do was we have here something called NQT, which is newly qualified teachers. And I have a series, and I'll share the link with you. I have a series of about, I think it's 12 videos. And what those videos do is they give advice to teachers who are beginning in their career. But I also have a bunch of videos where they are tutorials about educational, the educational perspective in when you're teaching. And my life has been what I'm trying to do now, because I've done what I've wanted to do. I'm trying to now share. But the even more important thing for me now is that I decided 2 years ago that what I wanted to do was in my school, I wanted to create videos. So what I did is I went out and bought me a DLSR of a Canon 5D Mark IV. I had no idea, none how to use it. But I then on LinkedIn Learning, I found some tutorials. On YouTube, I found some tutorials. So now what I do is I shoot video for my school. I teach, but I also shoot video for my school. And I've done the promotional video for the school. I do video for the departmental videos. I do videos for we about 33 different schools together. And so my next sort of goal is to try to do videos for all of those schools. That's my next goal.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, but I just believe that, when you find something that you're passionate about, you can't take anything and use it as an excuse. You have to do it. And even if no one was, even if they weren't paying me to do this, I would do it because I love it, because I want to learn more. So it's my job to try to make sure that they want to pay me for it, if you know what I mean. So yeah. No, I'm extremely fortunate in terms of, because I'm the kind of person who, if I set a goal, is hella high water toward that goal, and the video stuff is just what I love, because everybody has creativity within them and everybody can express themselves, and it's up to you how you express yourself. And I just think that part of the problem that we have in this world is that a lot of people just don't believe enough about themselves, well, within themselves, about themselves, that they can just say, I'm going to just do it,
Right.
And so I don't know whether you know, but I do on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I do and have done for the last 5 years. I do about a 45-minute motivational speaking every day, where I put a video out. And I was in, that came about because I was in Portugal. And when in Portugal, I was on an Easter holiday, and I got up. I used to always get up about 5:30, 6 o'clock in Portugal, because it's so quiet and peaceful. And we were right on the beach. And so I usually walk. And one of my students just happened to email me and said, "Sir, I have no motivation." So I did a video for him and I just posted. And before I knew it, like, oh my God. And yeah, so I've been doing it for God knows how long. And the thing what you said that's really, really powerful, you never know who's following you. You never know who is following you, you know? So if my life can be something that somebody else will take, even if it's the most negative thing that I've tried to turn into positive and use it to make their life better, well, my life has been well lived. And that's how I view what I do now. You know, it is about trying to make sure that somebody else along the path is better off than I was. That's what life is about, you know.
Yeah, and I think that that's so great. And I also remember you mentioned this on another talk that I found that you had on YouTube, which I can't remember the gentleman you were speaking with, but you mentioned that the connection you made with Lynda.com, I believe, was because actually someone on Twitter, right? You made a
Yeah,
connection.
you've done your research. I had a guy, his name is Maximum Jargo. So one day, Maximum and I went to this course, Premiere Pro, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I faked it through the whole course. I had not a clue. And so he asked me one day, I just asked him some questions after the course, and he just said to me, well, we should meet up for lunch one day. So we arranged, because he does a lot of movie producing. He's back and forth with LA, but he used to be back and forth with LA a lot. And he just said, let's meet. So we met in London. And so he said to me, well, what do you do? You know, I said, well, I do this, I do that. I'm doing some computer stuff. I'm creating courses for teachers. But he said, show me. So I showed him on my iPad. And he said to me, he said, who knows about this? It's like my staff in school. He said, no. So what he did was that next week, I got a call from Lynda.com. He had called Lynda.com and told them what I was doing. And so he set it up where we wrote a script for a course that they thought I would be interested. I had an interview with a gentleman, and before I knew it, I was on a plane out to Carpinteria, and I was doing some courses, you know, which is amazing, you know. So, but I just believe that it makes no sense for me to gather all this knowledge and not put it out to the world, because I'm serving nobody by keeping it to myself. Nobody, you know. So it is important for me that I teach as much as I can to anybody who wants to listen. Anybody, you know. So I'm so impressed with you. You've done the research. You really have. You've done the
Yes,
research.
of course I did.
Yeah.
So right now you said you're teaching and what's the subject matter that you teach?
So I'm teaching something that's called iMedia. And what iMedia, what it does, the system is sort of different from in the States. So what we have is pre-COVID, the kids have three pieces of coursework and one exam to do. But because of COVID, what has happened is that they have pulled it back to three now. You have one exam and then two pieces of coursework. So I teach the kids, the first one was graphics. So we use Photoshop to create graphics. And then the second was video. So we use Premiere Pro to create video. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to not only teach the kids, I'm trying to give them a life and a career. So when they
Very cool.
leave me, you know, so they will not just to get something and write something, I'll say, I passed this. No, 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 no. When you leave me, I always tell them like this. You got one thing to do for me. Two things. First, pass the course. Second, when you become a multimillionaire, come back and get me. That's the only thing I ask of them. Come back and get me and give me a job, you know, and it's been good. It's been really good. Challenging, but it's been really good.
That's great. What grade levels is that?
So I teach year 9, which is about 13, 14, and then I teach on up. And year 13 is about 16, 17.
Okay. Was
But
it
I'm lucky enough that we're teaching from the year 9. I teach the year 9, I teach a year 10, and I teach 2 year 11s, and I teach a year 13. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Mhm.
Okay. And your path on becoming, you were an Adobe Distinguished Educator. And if I
Adobe.
remember correctly, also on a top 100 list,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Can you
yes,
talk
yes.
about what that path was like for you to get there?
Yeah. The path is like this. The path is you start off not knowing anything. You then discover some skills. You find anybody who's willing to take the time to teach you anything. You look on YouTube 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you have to get up at 6:30 to go to work. You read as many books as you can on technology, and then you just try to create stuff. And when you create stuff, there is a main objective of creating stuff. You don't create stuff for yourself. You create stuff to make sure other people can do their jobs and other people can live prosperously. That's my whole thing. So being an Adobe educational leader, that was crazy because they were Macromedia at the time. And I went to a conference once and I had this guy and I just said to him, can you guys just give me a box of software? And he's like, well, we don't even have an education department. He said, but come back next year. We're going to try to get an education department. So I said, okay. So the next year I was right in line, waiting to get in. And when I got in, there was a guy called Mark Green. And Mark Green, they had a Macromedia educational leader program. And so Mark said, okay, man, here's a box of Studio. And they had Dreamweaver, and a bunch of other software and Photoshop and Fireworks. So I took it away and I spent I think it was about 6 months creating stuff. And then I went back and showed him. And he said, you need to be an educational leader. I was like, okay, cool. So I became an educational leader. And you know what's ironic about that is that Adobe eventually bought Macromedia. But what happened was I was trying to get some software from Adobe for over a period of time. And lo and behold, I contacted this lady and she would always tell me no. Well, when Adobe bought Macromedia, I called her up the next day and told her. She was like, well, would you like 1 or 2 copies? It was one of the best days of my life. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. But it's great because with Adobe, you're able to be as creative as you want to. And what happens is that pre-COVID, you go out to the States and there's only when I started, it was only about maybe 100 of you from around the world, from all over the world. And so you get a chance to sit down, and it is probably the only time that I shut up and don't say anything because I just want to listen, because there are so many amazingly brilliant people that you want to learn from. And sometimes when you talk, you kill your blessings.
Mm-hmm.
You kill your blessings. So I've learned that, if you shut up sometimes, because no one needs to know what you do, you just shut up and learn. And so, I've shut up and learned from a lot of different people. And I have now relationships, with people. I have a guy called Mateus who lives in Holland, and I am now his kid's uncle, you know. And so what I do is I go to see him. He brings his kids here, and it's just amazing. It's just phenomenal, and all that because of the relationship through Adobe.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
incredible. It sounds like you've been able to cultivate such great relationships with people that has led you to your next step.
Yeah, and I think what it is that when you're trying to cultivate relationships, it's not about what you want, it's about what you can give,
Mhm.
and how you can help. And I think that's why my relationships have been so fruitful, because I'm not trying to get anything from anybody. All I want to do is I want to learn, and then I want to use the skills that I've learned in order to make somebody else better. That's all I want to do.
Yes. And
That's it.
that resonates with me so much, because the reason I reached out to you is because I just want to learn and I want to
Mhm.
talk to others. I want to
Mhm.
build, a network more of people that I want to shut up and listen and just hear
Yeah.
more about what people's stories are in education, and especially in education and technology.
Well, it's just a different perspective, isn't it?
Hmm.
And I think anybody who has lived over 20 years, if you've lived your life and paid attention to your life, you've got something to say. So everybody has an opinion. But I think it's very important that when you do have an opinion, it's a constructive opinion, that you're not trying to put anybody down, or you're not trying to get anything from anybody. You're just trying to either learn something or you're trying to contribute to a conversation, you know? And that's what it's been like, trying to contribute to a conversation. And the amazing thing right now with COVID is that I've become so much more valuable with what I know. because at being a Google school, we teach all the Google stuff. All of our kids have Chromebooks. And we were going down this route long before COVID. So when COVID hit, we were quite fortunate that our kids sort of knew how to use the Google platform. So we actually, it was okay. And then when the second time, because what happened was we left school, kids went, then we came back, then we left again. And then the second time around with COVID with the kids home, it was amazing. Like we just went back today. Today was the first day back in about 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
It's strange going back, but it's everybody got masks, and it's a little strange, but it is what it is. So.
Wow. And you said your school is a Google school. What was how did that come about?
So we had a guy there. His name was Andy Ward. And what Andy wanted to do was Andy wanted to establish where the kids could be independent learners. That was his sort of job. And what he did was he looked around, looked at all the software at the time, and he just decided the first prerequisite is free. Okay, that's the first prerequisite, free.
I like
Oh, free. And then once he saw that the Google platform was free, he then looked at what we could do. Then he then got me, and we shot God knows how many videos where we would teach people how to create content using the Google platform. And then we just ran with it. And now, like I said, all the kids have the Google platform, all the kids have Chromebooks, all the school use the Google platform. And we are sort of like the main school in the 33 who are using the Google platform, which is amazing. So it's fantastic.
Wow. That's really neat. I'd love to give you a chance to talk about one of your books.
More than what you see. Yes. I don't think I have one here. Yeah, I think I got one here. What happened was my mom, who was 95, who suffered a little bit with COVID, who was really touch and go there, but she's pulled through, which is amazing. My mom, ever since I spent 2 years in South America, 2 years in Finland, Argentina, Sweden, and various other places. And she said to me, you need to write a book. I'm like, yeah, woman, right, whatever. And I put it off and I put it off and I put it off. And then one Sunday, I was walking, and then all of a sudden, this whole book came to me. I mean, literally, titles, what needed to go in there, everything. And so I went home and I just started typing, and it just kept coming, and it just kept coming. And this is that book. This is a book. If you make sure that I've got your address, I'll send you one. Okay. And so what happens is in this book is we have things like different chapters, and we have things like motivation, follow your own path. And my favorite chapter, the power of I am, and then we have Boy, Get Off My Pig, the saxophone moment, and so on. And what's really interesting is that when I did this book, I only did this book for my children because I want to be known for the rest of eternity. And I think it's everybody's job in order to be known, because if you've lived any part of your life, you've got something to say. And the worst thing you can ever do is not say it. The worst thing you can ever do is not say it. And so I decided to say it. And I decided to put it down in the book. And the book is a journey. Yeah, it's funny, the title. It says A Small Journey Through a Big World. And what happened was I had another name for that book. And one day, I was in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And I had been speaking with this guy for a while. And he called me and he said, I told him the title of the book. He said, no, it's not the title of your book. He said, I called just to tell you the title of your book. He said, the title of your book is I Am More Than What You See. He said to me, that is what the Lord told me. And I like, who am I to talk, to mess with the Lord. I was like, okay, let's do it. That's the name of the book. And that's been the name of the book. And then from there, I've created some comic books. So I have some comic books based on some stories. And this one is about a fire. And this one is also about a pig. And what happened with the pig is my grandfather I grew up on a farm. And on that farm, we had horses, we had cows, we had pigs, we had everything. And so one day we had some cousins down from New York, and I decided that since I lived there most of the time, I was going to ride this pig. But little known to me, the pig was pregnant. And my grandfather went off. But after that, he sat me down and he told me the value of those pigs. And he told me just how that the people in the neighborhood depended on those pigs to live, from the meat and the stuff that came from those pigs. And he taught me the value of looking after things and people's property. So, so that stuck with me all my life. And so that's a chapter in the book, you know. And so, yeah, so I've got, I'm almost finished with my next book, almost finished with it now. And I am creating another book, and it's called a desktop book of inspiration. So over the last 5 years, I've kept all the videos that I recorded. And so what I'm doing is translating those, writing those down, and writing a story based on what I've said. And then we're going to publish that also.
Wow, that is so neat.
Mm.
So I'm just so intrigued and impressed by the just multiple layers of your career now, including um, these books and now your desktop book of inspirations too. That's so cool. So what would you say to someone who wants to have perhaps a career such as yours, very, very, very inspirational, very focused on, it seems like what makes you happy? What would you say to someone?
Which has not always been the case, because I used to be, how do I put? I used to be, I didn't love myself very much at one point in time in my life, and I didn't see the value of me. But what happened was a funny thing happened along the path of life. I found out that I could play basketball, and then all of a sudden, I found myself. And when I found myself, I got confidence in myself. And because I think life is all about confidence. Life is about how you feel about yourself, not how somebody else feel about you, but how you feel about yourself. Life is about how when you walk in a room, you feel like you're golden. You feel like you're precious.
Mm.
And no one else has to know, but you need to feel like that because you're special. And one of the things that I do, and I still do now to this day, every single night before I go to bed, I write down 3 things that I've done during the course of the day. And then when I wake up the next day, 3 positive things. When I wake up the next day, the first thing I do is I read them, because that starts my day off on an incredible day. And now I know now that my day is going to start off, in a great way. The other thing is that I don't listen to the news in the morning.
Mm.
Why put that negativity in your life? So I don't do that. I think the thing is that if you're blessed enough to know what you want, and even if you're not blessed enough to know what you want, I think one of the things is it's whatever you find that comes easy to you, that you can do, that you love. That's what your calling is. And basketball started it off. And then for me, it was just, the computer stuff. And I just think that anybody in this world, if you care about you, you need to take the time to sit down and write, write about 15, 20 things, just write what you want to do. And then you eliminate them. And then lo and behold, and this process might take a while, but then lo and behold, you find out what you really want to do. And I would say that the thing that I don't do is nothing I do is for money. Although I get paid, nothing I do is for money. What I do is for the love of what I do. And I think that's extremely important, because I don't feel obligated to get up and do it because it's going to be a paycheck. I feel that I'm going to get up because I love doing what I'm doing, what I'm going to do. So if there's anything I can say to anybody who's listening is find something that you love to do and do it. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, why not? Why not?
I love that message.
Mm.
That's something I think we could all hear, especially given the state of the world in general. It's almost a little bit more challenging to find some of that inspiration for ourselves. So I love the idea of being
Yeah.
able to write it and know
But you
what
know
you
what? You know what's amazing right now is that we have gone and going through a period where you've had the opportunity to try a lot of different things.
Mhm.
You've had the opportunity because you can't go to work, most people. So you sat at home and you've had the opportunity to look into other careers. You've had the opportunity to look into other things. And anything that you do, you have to start at the bottom. Because if you don't know what's happening at the bottom, you can't grow. It makes no sense for me to go in at a top level job if I don't know how the business runs. You know, it's the same thing with life. You start at the bottom, you work your way up, then you understand the whole business, then you're good to go.
Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah. No,
mm.
that brings me back to a thought. I've recently taken out of education. Um, I just got my nails done by a girl who learned how to do this on YouTube.
Yep.
I thought that was incredible. I
Yep.
mean, there we can learn anything.
Yep.
And you're so right, just especially during this time of
Yeah.
we have we have just ample time to do.
That time.
So,
You know, I say to my kids all the time in school, I said to them, okay, what do you want to be? Sir, I want to be a car racer. So what do you want to be? Sir, I want to be a doctor. So what are you doing to help you during that process?
mhm,
Nothing. I said, have you ever heard of YouTube? Have you ever heard of YouTube? Have you ever heard of YouTube for kids?
mhm,
Yeah. Well, why aren't you listening? Why aren't you learning?
mhm,
Because I think it's the people who, when you find out what you want to do, it's the people who start doing it. You know, the people who actually start learning and just start doing it. You know, stop worrying about, oh, I can't do this, I don't have this, I don't have that. You know, just do it. And you know, in terms of what I do, this is the best thing that ever happened to me.
mhm,
This thing right here, because these cameras here, the cameras on these things take better pictures than a lot of DSLRs.
mhm,
You know, it's just amazing. So you can do whatever you want to do. You know, it's up to you. But if you, I guarantee you that if you continually tell yourself that you can't, you can't. You continue to tell yourself that you can, you can. Simple as that.
mhm. Yep,
Simple as that.
absolutely.
Mm,
Well,
mm.
I'd love to make the next chapter of this focus on where you see the next part of ed tech going in, knowing what you know, where do you see education technologies moving to?
So I think we've been going this way for a while now. I think within a lot of businesses uh, and within schools, at one point in time, there was a time where if you wanted to learn something, you could come out of school and go on a course. I think now what's happening is that all these courses will be done in-house and they will buy packages and you have to learn those packages in-house and then do the job in-house. I think what's going to happen.
Mhm,
But I also think that what is going to happen is I think on the next level of what we're doing, I do think that if you are not computer literate, you're going to be in trouble.
mhm,
You're going to be in a lot of trouble. But I also think that if you can get just the baseline, you can survive. Without the baseline, you can't survive. It's very difficult now because a lot of things, you know, even with the COVID, you know, they're asking you to go online and get this information, go online and order this test, go online and do that. So if you can't go online, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. But I also think that, you know, one of the companies that I admire, I mean, just admire, is Apple. And I just found out tonight that on this thing, I know I had a health app, but I didn't know it could do. And so, like me and my daughter, we did like 8,000 steps tonight. And it's amazing the detail and the level of detail you can find on
mhm,
this phone. And this thing here it can be golden. And you know, when you're sitting down sometime and you just nothing to do, pick up that phone and go to YouTube, download the YouTube app, try to find out what's going on in the world in terms of what you want to do. It doesn't hurt, you know. I just think that you know, we are now, it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be phenomenal. And I can't wait for it to happen. I just can't wait. You know, and you look at what happened with the cars now,
mhm,
the self-driving cars. We look at happening with all of Apple Pay, all that stuff, and in the phone on the dashboard that you can now just select whatever you want with Apple Play. You can now, like I said, you got the card with the Apple. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. So I'm just like I'm in seven heaven. So I'm just like happy. I really am. So I'm just like really happy. So. mm,
That's great. Yeah, I use the health app a lot too, and I
yeah.
feel it'll tell me if I'm doing less steps than maybe I did last week or the week
Yes.
before or the year before, and so I just get to moving.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Any final words that you want to leave off?
Yeah. I think if there's one thing that I would like to say to people is this, you know, none of us know when our time is up. You have given the most precious blessings that you ever could have been given, and that is the blessing of life. And to waste a life, it is crazy. To be able to just impact somebody else in your life. And I like to tell my kids like this: tomorrow, when you get up, open the door for somebody and see what it feels like. And that's the feeling you're trying to get every day of your life. That's the feeling. And so if you're going through your life every day and you're miserable and you don't feel great about yourself, open the door for somebody. And that feeling is a feeling that you want to feel for the rest of your life.
That's beautiful. I love that. I think that's a wonderful note to sign off
Mhm.
on. Well, thank you so much, Renaldo. I
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much. I
your time.
appreciate it. Thank you. I really appreciate it.